It is great to be with you virtually. Sorry for that I'm not able to be with you in person. Um, I'm excited to share with you my life story and engage in this learning experience with each one of you. And I just thank you ahead of time of listening and hearing my journey of how I've gotten to this point. So I want to start my life story off in where I was born. So I was born and raised on the East Coast, born in New Jersey, raised in Connecticut. My parents are Beverly and Bob King. That is, I like to start there as like the foundation of who I am and what brought me to this work. From the time I can remember, my parents always talked about education and the value of education, and they would often talk about their parents and how their parents sacrificed and gave for them in order for them to get to the level where they were in their career and as both working in corporate America to then open up opportunities for both my brother and my sister and I and that value of education, that value of hard work, is something that I carry with me today and bring with me into this work in this space. It is not lost on me that my father's mother cleaned houses in Beacon, New York. It's not lost on me that my grandfather, my mother's father, drove trucks, and her mother was a nurse here in Kansas City, and I understand like I stand on their shoulders. I stand on the shoulders of giants through this, and so they created this foundation for me. Um, the through as I've grown up, and I grew up in a pretty diverse community. I had a lot of opportunities um, as a child, especially growing up in Connecticut. And another moment that really stuck out and resonated with me was in high school. Um, I was I was looking at what I was going to do after high school, what college I was going to go to, what I was going to study, what I was going to become. And I remember sitting in my principal's office saying that I wanted to be a teacher. And he's like, "You're crazy. You shouldn't be a teacher." He's like, "Teachers don't get paid a lot." I was like, "All right, well, it looks really like a cool job, a cool gig." And Mr. Carpentieri was probably one of my favorite teachers. Who I loved him because he would always come in into class reading the New York Times in shorts and a polo shirt and like kicking his feet up. We didn't learn much, but he just gave this, which is one of my favorite teachers who really just like cared deeply about me in my education and saw me for me. And he was one of my first teachers in high school who really just saw me for me and really pushed me to be a better student. And that idea of like really caring and knowing your students is something that sticks out, and I carry with me, and it carried with me as an educator and teacher. Um, High school is also the same time where, looking back on it, that I experienced, um, you know, just from my high school guidance counselor, where she told me to my face that I was not good enough to go to some of the more competitive colleges and universities, and that I would be better off going to one of the community colleges, and that academically that I wouldn't be able to keep up. That is, it's one of those stories that so many of our kids hear, and it's one that I carry with me just as a way of understanding how words have impact, and what we're talking when we're talking to kids, and how easily we can speak life into kids, and in the same vein, we can also um, crush kid dreams that kids have. Um, but I was I was gracious in having parents who were able to help me navigate the system and navigate around my guidance counselor who didn't believe that I could be successful. And so I eventually matriculated to Morehouse College in Atlanta, Georgia, a historically black college, university. And that was where I truly had a good understanding of who I am as a black male in this world, and understanding the diaspora of the black male. And it was that experience where I was able to stand confident in my own skin for the first time, going through Morehouse College. And it's also where I've learned a lot about service, um, and commitment. And it was also a time that highlighted the true gaps in opportunity that students have across our country. Living in Connecticut, again, it was one of those places where I was very fortunate, was not exposed to um, much of the differences. Even though New York City was so close, it was still felt so far. Being in Atlanta, living in Atlanta, being in community, and understanding the community, I learned a lot about that experience, and through that experience, and that is what energized me to really join the front lines and to become a teacher. And I remember walking the campus of Morehouse during the fall of my senior year, and running across a gentleman who was recruiting for an organization that I'd never heard of called Teach for America in 2002. And he was like, "Come out to our session, check us out." And I went to go learn more, and from that moment decided that I was going to go into teaching. And I said, let me see. I said, like, I can at least do 2 years, a 2 year commitment to teach and really give back and serve my community, and really bring hope and inspiration to kids who might not have that. And so that brought me to Houston, Texas, in the fall of 2002. And that's where I spent um, 13 years in education. And so I worked in the Houston Independent School District, and later in the KIPP Houston region. The KIPP Schools is a national network of charter schools. We have one here in Kansas City. And through my experience at Teach for America, I learned about what it meant to be mission oriented and what it meant to be focused on really social justice. And while we weren't using the term social justice at that time, it was the catalyst for change that we were seeking to do. And understanding that through a collective unit, that together we can make a difference in this world. And so after leaving my core years and joining KIPP, that is where I learned a lot about just failure and self-reflection. You know, I thought that I was a pretty good teacher after my 2 years of teaching and Teach for America. And then I soon realized that I really wasn't a good teacher. I had students that were not learning in my classroom. I had students that were not doing homework. And the narrative that we talk a lot about at KCTR that I was perpetuating was a narrative that kids didn't want to do this, that parents weren't committed, and I had that narrative reframed to me by my principal, who said, "Well, you know, Charles, if we look at it, if you look at your data, and you see that more than half of your kids are not turning in homework or not being successful in the classroom, I'm not sure if that's a kid issue. I think it's more so a you issue as a teacher." And that was my epiphany. And that's really where I developed true ownership for my students and for learning. And that was something that I had to learn the hard way personally. And it was in that moment that that I soon like fought for every child and found ways to ensure that every child was learning and engaging, and it stretched me as a teacher and stretched my commitment. But what it showed me in the end is that every child has the capability and the ability to learn, and it's our responsibility as educators to find what they need. And that is something I carried with me throughout my time at KIPP as a teacher, as a regional leader, as an assistant principal, and later a building leader. And it was through the grace of God that I've been able to have my territory enlarged to support so many kids. Um, and so through this, I talk a lot about what has kept me, what has grounded me, and so a part of what I haven't talked about yet is just faith, and so faith is a big part of my life and what I bring to this work, because with faith and hope and grace, we can't do this work, and that is like why I show up every single day, why I go in the building, even after the hardest of hard days, is because of that faith, that unyielding and undying faith that we can build a better tomorrow, that this could be, that our kids can truly transform this world. It is that faith that I hold on to. It is that hope that I hold on to that keeps me motivated and knowing that we're doing what's right and what we need to do. And that leads me to KCTR, is to continue that mission work of really opening up opportunities for all children, for especially Black and Latino children who are in communities, in schools that are underserved, that are underappreciated, undervalued, and ensuring that they have every single opportunity in life to do what they would want to do in life. And knowing that as teachers, we hold that key. We are the key lever, and we are the ones that are the gatekeepers to that opportunity. And knowing that in KCTR, it is our responsibility to ensure that every person that completes our program is equipped with those keys to open those doors of possibilities and opportunities to kids. And finally, I'll close it while also thinking about opportunities and possibilities for kids, it's opportunities and possibilities for teachers. And knowing that we have a rich community full of assets, and knowing that we have people who are here located in Kansas City who want to be committed to this work and needed an opportunity, and KCTR is that. And we provide the resources, the training, the supports to set people up for success going into classrooms, to be there for the long haul for our community, so that we can in turn build something great and know that we can transform the lives of kids and families for generations to come. Thank you so much, and I look forward to hearing your life stories in the days and weeks to come. Take care.